Just is really... It irritates me, and I'm not the only one who uses it, obviously, because it diminishes what you say after it. If it really is just, then that's fine. Like, look, this is just a simple thing. I just read your T-shirt. Bit of ADHD happening there. When you see "fucked up" written on somebody's T-shirt, it kind of grabs my attention, actually. Just a little bit. People do it when they're not, often when they're, it takes away the confidence of what you say afterwards. Sometimes. Yeah. Yeah. It's a subversive little word. And I overuse it. So feel free to have a reaction to it. Okay. So sitting in the chair, and if I say just sense, I'm throwing away the importance of the sensing. That's my point. So don't just sense. Sense. The weight on each side of your buttock. And the weight underneath each foot. So now here's a scan that Feldenkrais is not doing in the Elderly Citizen series. He's not doing scans. He goes straight into it. Because he's well, I can only guess what his intention is. My guess, his intention is to keep it really simple. You know, these are tapes that people can use without any introduction, any reading, any understanding, and he's just keeping it simple. So there is no scan. So this is just a little scan that I think might be useful. And my other reason for putting it in is to get you to settle into your body, because you are in this chair position, which is somewhat extroverted, you know. So I want to do something to help you settle into yourself, to go inward, introspect. Okay, now come to the edge of the chair a little, where it's comfortable. And put your right hand on the edge of the seat behind your right hip somewhere. That's it. And your left hand's on your left thigh, left knee, somewhere around there, resting comfortably. That's it. Now very slowly start to push your left hip forward. So remember the movement from yesterday in that 3-minute miracles. And quietly, gently, that's it. Left hip pushing forwards and then coming back to the beginning position. And now with your right hand there, could it be an assistant to that movement? So how would the movement have to change in order for the right hand to assist that movement? How could it be an assistant? So that it's active, it's not just passively resting on the chair, that it's a helper. And notice that as you do that, as you push your left hip forward and you turn to the right, is there something about your right hand being there that gives you a sense of straightening up, becoming a little bit more erect as you come forward on the left hip, and that turns you to the right? Could there be a sense of straightening? Your head moving upward a little bit. The head becomes a bit higher than before. Your body straightens. And when you move your left hip joint back, you kind of come back in almost like a bending movement, but it's not. But it's more of a downward movement, down and back. And then you go up and to the right. Is that a possibility? noticing that your shoulders and the head and the eyes are all part of the turning. And noticing for your own interest how far you turn. So how far easily do your shoulders, head, eyes turn as you push your left hip forward. And now next time, stay there. Next time you go to the right, stay there and bring your head and eyes back to the front. So your shoulders stay twisted to the right, your left knee stays forward, and you bring your eyes and your head back to the front. And take them around to the right and back to the front. Do that a few times. And then as you bring your left hip backwards, your shoulders come back, and of course everything lines up under your head and eyes again. So do that now a few times, where you push your left hip forward, turns your shoulders to the right, and your head stays to the front. And then you unswivel yourself, as it were, by pulling your left hip back, and everything aligns itself back underneath this still head and still eyes. And again, is your right hand an able assister, or is it just an appendage hanging behind you? That's it. Good rest. Rest for a moment in the back of your chair. And are you noticing any difference between the right side and the left side? So that might mean the right leg or the left leg. Does one feel different to the other? Heavier, lighter, longer, shorter, thinner, fatter? And what about the right side of your trunk versus the left side of your trunk? Does one side feel longer? One side feel shorter? Does one shoulder feel closer to the hip joint than the other shoulder, to its respective hip joint? Now, come to the front of the chair again and have your left hand somewhere comfortably on your left thigh and your right hand behind you on the chair, but you're still facing forward. So you're reaching behind. And now this time, pay attention to several things. So as you slide your left knee and hip forward, your body turns to the right, your head and eyes stay forward. And the extra thing that you're paying attention to is this sense that your body straightens, becomes a little bit more straight, a little bit longer as it turns to the right. Okay, so you're going to pay particular attention to that. It might have been happening anyway, but now you're really going to give it some special attention. That's it. And then your body comes back as your knee and the hip come back. Your knee and your hip go forward. Your body turns and lengthens and your head stays to the front. But it's still kind of being pushed up towards the ceiling, but it faces the front. That's it. So you're using the movement of the hip joint to both turn the spine and lengthen it. That's it. So you're taller. You always wanted to be taller. And then when you come back, you feel that kind of shortening happens, that you come back and you're a little bit shortened, as if you're coming back into a little low car, little, a car with a low ceiling, and you want to just sort of snuggle into it. That's it. And come back and sit symmetrically for a moment. Just have both hands on each thigh. Don't have to sit back. Just stay sitting forward. And how do you feel sitting forward, comparing the left and right after that movement? It's what we'd call an asymmetrical movement, meaning it's different, very different one side to the other. So chances are it will leave an effect of feeling asymmetrical, so different one side to the other, after you finish the movement. Can you catch that after effect? Now leave your right hand there on the thigh, on the right thigh, and put your left hand back behind you on the chair, wherever's comfortable. So as far back as you can reach without effort, Feldenkrais says. And now slowly move the whole body to the left. So the right hip joint goes forward with the right knee, obviously, and the whole body twists to the left. Shoulders, eyes, head. And if you didn't spontaneously use your left arm, how can you make use of that left arm? Or not? Is it harder? That's it. And the next time you do it, can you add in that little special piece of attention to catch that moment when it would be easier to get a little bit taller in your trunk, that your head becomes a little bit higher, your back becomes a little bit straighter. As you push the right hip forward, you can use the movement of the hip joint to straighten you up a little bit. Turning and straightening, that's it. And then as you come back to the front, facing the front, that you have that sense of becoming a little bit shorter, so that your head kind of sinks back down again. A little bit, yeah. Everyone does it in a slightly different. He says something weird. The head is taller than before, the spine erects. And now when you go back to the front, your body crouches. The head leans a little bit forward. But it's just, you just go back into a slumpy posture, basically. Your slumpy posture, not anything in particular. Your usual slumpy. That's it. And as you're doing it, can you pay attention to when do you breathe in and when do you breathe out? Do you time this movement of the pushing forward and the turning with the breath in, and then you breathe out when you come back? Or do you breathe out when you're going, pushing forward and turning, and breathe in when you come back? So whichever way you're doing, do the opposite. If you're just holding your breath the whole time, do the opposite to that and breathe during the movement. So it can be a hard question to answer, because it's not something that we often pay attention to, is the breathing in and the breathing out. When do we do it? He says it doesn't matter what you do. In fact, it's only finding out what you're doing That's the question. Finding out what you're doing. And trying another way to see if you did make a good choice in the first place. He says, you'll see once you know what you're doing, you can improve it. But if you don't know what you're doing, you can't correct it. Good. Leave it and rest. Rest at the back of the chair. Would you like to lie down and rest? Okay. Off you toot. Lie down and rest. Good. Come back up to sitting. You're in the postprandial blood pressure drop stage. If you were older, you'd be more at risk of falling now. No, if you were old. If you were old, you would be more at risk of falling. Just saying. Prandial. Post-food. Prandial. Post-eating. Okay, so come to the front of the chair again and have your left hand on the chair behind you and the right hand on your thigh. And now push your right hip joint forward. Actually, no, both hands are on your thighs. And just simply do a right hip push forward and back so that you turn a little bit to the left, and then the left hip forward so you turn a bit to the right. So do that a few times, just that alternating. That's it. And how's that from yesterday? Okay, Good. Now put your right hand on the chair behind you. Left hand's on the left knee. And push your right hip forward so that your body turns to the left and your eyes and your head stay to the front as they've done before. So your right hand's back and you're pushing your right hip. So it's a different thing. So your right hand is back. I'm looking at Linda and Sue because we all got left hand issues. You're fine. I'm just bonding with you. Just bonding with you. Yeah. You've got sorry, I've jumped paragraphs. This is the worst thing about reading, is that I've lost my place. Bring both hands back on the front of your knees. That's it. That's it. Now, so what you were doing before, which is twisting right and left, now only go body to the left and keep your eyes and the head to the front. So you did the whole thing before. So you push your right hip forward with the right knee and your shoulders and your trunk turn to the left and your eyes and your head stay forward. And now, when you've done that a few times, add in the left hip so that you're alternating again. So what you did before, but now you're keeping the head and the eyes still. That makes better sense to me. That's it. And for what it's worth, this is what I call the panther movement. You've got your eyes clearly forward in your head and your body's kind of almost doing like this walking movement underneath. Can you make it easier, simpler? That might mean it's faster. Might mean it's smaller. That's it. And now for a few pushes, left and right, let the head go with the shoulders again. So back to that simple arrangement. So the whole body and the head and the eyes goes completely to the left as your right hip comes forward. And then as your left hip comes forward, your shoulders, head and eyes go completely to the right. So as your left hip comes forward, you go to the right. And now add in this little variation. So everything's going, as your right hip comes forward and everything goes to the left, everything that is except your eyes, and they go opposite. Just the eyes. So I'll talk it through. So push your right hip forward, your shoulders and your head go to the left, and your eyes go to the right. And then everything comes back to the front. Your left hip comes forward, your shoulders and head go to the right, and your eyes go left. That's it. And of course, if you shut your eyes, I can't see what you're doing. But you've all got your eyes open so I can see. You look very shifty. Very shifty. And are your eyes moving horizontally? Or are they going a bit up or a bit down? Can you keep them kind of horizontal? Good. Leave it and rest in the back of the chair. Okay, come to the front of the chair again and have both hands on your knees. And this time push your right hip forward so your body turns to the left. And stay there. And your eyes and your head and your shoulders all go with it. And now staying there, so everything's twisted to the left. Just take your eyes to the front and back to the left, and to the front and back to the left. And how smoothly can that movement go? And again, it's a horizontal movement. So if you've noticed any up or down, how can you not have it go up and down? So the eyes are sort of looking at each corner of the eyeball. That's it. Many times. That's it. Can the movement be smooth? And are you breathing? That's it. And then everything back to the front. And then push your left hip forward. Everything turns to the right. Stay there and have your eyes move to the front and back to the right and back to the front many times. Eyes only. And then come back to everything back to the front. And now take the right hip forward. And everything turns to the left, shoulders, head, and eyes. And keep your shoulders there and just bring your head and your eyes to the right and back again, back to the left. So the shoulders stay twisted to the left and the head and the eyes come back to the front and then return to the left where the shoulders are. And do that many times. And can that be a very horizontal movement too? No, not so much up and down. And breathing. Everything comes back to the front. And now push your left knee forward with your left hip. Everything turns to the right and stay there. Now bring your shoulders and your head and your eyes back to the front. So your pelvis stays turned to the right, but your shoulders, so that whole upper trunk and the head and the eyes come back to the front. That's it. And sit back, leave it, rest. Rest to the back of the chair. Notice any difference between the right and the left side? Sensation of the right eye versus the left eye. Now come to the front of the chair again. And without thinking of doing any one part of it in particular, turn to look to the right. And what do you do spontaneously? What happens in your spine? Where does the top of your head go? Come back and go through that middle section and then turn to the left. Where does your weight go? And then add in the attention to the breath. So as you turn, where does your breath go? So as you turn and come straighter in the spine, do you breathe in and breathe out when you come back to the front? Do you breathe in as you turn to the left and breathe out when you come back to the front? So if that's what you're doing, do the opposite, which means breathe out as you turn and breathe in as you come back to the front. Breathe out as you turn, breathe in as you come to the front. Good, rest back in the chair. Okay, good. Come to the front of the chair again. Now this time have your right hand behind you and your left hand on your knee. And this is a bit of not a variation, but a more complex version of what you've done before. So as you push your left knee forward and your left hip, your body turns to the right, but your head and eyes turn to the left. So not just to the front, but seeing if they can go beyond the front. So they're actually going to the left. So as your shoulders, and that's it. So as your left hip and knee go forward, you turn your body to the right and your head and eyes go to the left. That's it. And your right hand is behind you. And can you still get that sense of your spine straightening, even though your head's going in the opposite direction to your shoulders? So it's not just staying still, not just staying to the front, but actually moving to the left. Good. Just rest for a moment with your hands on your thighs. And slowly change over. So your left hand goes behind you on the chair, anywhere that's comfortable behind you. And now your right hip goes forward, and your body turns to the left. So the body twists to the left, and the head and the eyes go to the right. That's it. You're actually all ahead of the instructions. You're so smart. And of course, you come back to the middle, and then the head and the eyes go right, and the body goes left. Can you do that simultaneously? That's it. The right hip goes forward. And you're looking to the right. It's actually quite an elegant move. Has a bit of defiance in it, especially if your spine becomes more straighter as you go, as your spine turns to the left. Good. Now bring your hands back onto your thighs so that both hands are on your knees again. Now lightly and easily just do it once or twice, looking to the right and then looking to the left. That's it. Now continue that rotation of your trunk going to turn to the right and the left, but have your head and eyes going the opposite. And how easily can you do that transition so your right knee and hip can go forward and your shoulders turn to the left, but your head turns to the right. And then your left knee and hip go forward, your trunk turns to the right, and your head turns to the left. And each time your trunk turns, you feel that little straightening. Without strain, he gives a little reminder about you don't have to worry about straining. That's the way you avoid any pain. And you just let the body improve through this differentiation. He doesn't use that word. But you see the body, the skeleton, the muscles limber up. And he says, so you see the body and the head move in opposite directions. This is not normal. Usually in our life, we move our head and our shoulders together. But by differentiating them, so he does use the word in the last page, moving the head in one direction, shoulder in another, you will see later the eyes in another direction. You'll find the whole strain, all the tightness in the body goes, and your body becomes limp, easy, comfortable to move. Limp is not a word we would use, I don't think. It's not an active word, is it? Limber would be a better word. Yeah. Okay, then come back and just do the whole movement congruently again, so that as you turn to the right, everything turns to the right. As you turn to the left, everything turns to the left. Your hands are on the knees. And notice how far you can go now. And is it any different to when we started this second lesson? Is it different to yesterday's lesson? Do you remember the first day? Can you see? He says, if you now think of how far you can see to the right and how far you can twist to the left, you will admit that the improvement is worthwhile. Cheerio. Cheerio. Bye for now. Okay. So apart from getting my page numbers mixed up, which is the devil of teaching off of somebody else's notes, there's not a lot more in that. What is extra in that lesson that wasn't in yesterday's? More differentiation and the eyes. Yep. Yep, and the hand. So what's the point of the hand at the back? What did that do for people? Gave you the feeling of straightening. Yeah. Yeah. So you could say it's a bit of a constraint in a way. It kind of forces you to turn around. It gives you a pivot point. Yeah. Gives you a pivot point to make it a tighter turn. Now, interestingly, so this is what I want you to get into groups of 3. Depends how this happens. So some of you shift weight onto the side that you're turning towards, and some of you shift weight onto the side that you're turning away from. So get into maybe groups of 3 so that you should be able to, maybe get groups of 4. And observe what you've got, what weight shift people are doing as they turn. Okay? Yeah. Little bit, yeah. Yes.